Mohammed, what do you do these days now? It seems I've sometimes wondered what you're doing.
You know, it's really strange. I'm actually more busy now than I was boxing, because at the time I was boxing, I had to go in training for like 3 months before a fight.
Yeah.
And like immediately after a fight, I was signing for another one, and I was like on the streets for like 3 weeks, and then I was back in training. And I fought as much as 3 and 4 times a year, and training 3 months for each fight. I was mostly in camp.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more busy now than I was, more active in the ring. For an example, I was in Pittsburgh yesterday and toured about 3 black high schools in one day, encouraging the youth. A lot of gang wars are going on. They're shooting each other and sniping at each other on the streets. And the principals mentioned that with the things that I have done and sacrifices I have made, I'm about one of the few people that they might listen to. So I went, and they did listen, and a couple of the gangs got together, and we had a little secret meeting, and they shook each other's hand and said they're going to try to stop fighting and shooting. A lot of them are taking dope, and a lot of the girls are going into prostitution. And we went to the schools, we talked with the various groups, and we had a good time. And I'm on a college tour also, and my agent, Richard Fulton here in New York, says that look like we're going to be booked for another 2 years in the colleges. And I'm also franchising about 500 restaurants called Champ Burgers. We have 5 of them in the Miami area.
Champ Burgers?
Champ Burgers, right. And we're negotiating on about 10 more buildings in Georgia, and we're coming up here and all over the country. And also, Random House will be coming out soon with my life autobiography, about 4 more months. So I stay pretty busy.
That's pretty good. Is there any how do you stand now with the possibility of going to jail?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just waiting any day now.
Do you think about Do you think about that, though? Do you ever think what you'll do if you
Well, yes,
go?
you think about it at nights when you're in the bed. You think about, you know, if I went this way, what could have happened if I went this way, and I've figured it all out.
Yeah.
No people gain freedom until some have to die, some lose their wealth, some give up money. And like I would say the white race, when your people first got here, they didn't have these cameras and televisions and jet airplanes and air conditions and Howard Johnsons and Holiday Inns and Americana and Hilton hotels. They had to fight the Indians, watch their daughters raped and scabbed. Took 6 months to go from here to Los Angeles. Now you can do it in 3.5 hours. But nevertheless, they kept fighting and cutting down the trees. And they didn't see this, but they made a way for the present whites to rule. And the Japanese in World War II, they had these flights called suicide missions. They knew they would die, but they ran that plane, right? His life meant nothing when it came to the freedom of his daughter, his son, the future of his nation. And I would say like the astronauts, 3 white astronauts almost got stranded in space, and their wives are waiting, and the children were worried because they could have been out there now, still in orbit.
Yeah.
But for the progress of white America in space, 8 astronauts died on the ground, and 3 almost not got back. But whenever people want to really make progress, some have to sacrifice a lot. And I like to say, white America right now is spending $30 million a day in Asia. Black and white boys are dying unjustly for nothing just to free somebody else. So why should I worry about going to little old jail to free my poor people who's been catching hell here for 400 years? And it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to put a black.
Are you asking me for an answer to that?
It's kind of hard to put a black man or any black person in this country in jail, because if you ask the average one, we're already in jail. You know, we've been in jail 400 years.
How does the subject changed so many times in that long sentence that I'm going to talk for a second now. That I really don't know how that connects with Howard Johnson's and everything, but it's a terrific long harangue that you did. Do you feel bitter toward the entire white race? Do you think there's something about whiteness that is evil?
No, sir. No, sir. Whatever white people do as far as evil or as far as mistreatment, it's just the nature of the white race to be this way if we check history.
Do you think it
There's
might be
always
human
been-
nature?
Yes, just human nature to kill. If white people,
Human nature,
I
not
watch
just white nature.
television. If there's not a movie of white people shooting white people in shootouts and cowboy pictures, they're shooting Indians. If they're not shooting Indians, they shoot Negroes. If they're not doing that, they're shooting reindeers or elephants or killing something. Just got to shoot. The system is built on war.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think if it had happened the other way around, for some reason in what's the word, evolution, if the genes and the pigments had happened to work some other way, and if the nation of Africa, if the continent of Africa had developed the kind of civilization that ours has, is it possible that what I'm trying to say is there something intrinsically? I know this is part of the Muslim point, I assume, the black Muslim point, that there's something
I'm
intrinsically
just talking about history.
aggressive about white nature that there isn't about black.
No religious point. What I'm telling you is in history books, in your own books about this. I have a book called 100
Oh,
Years
sure,
of
I know
Lynching.
all there is.
So I'm not bringing up religion or nothing. This is just a fact that the world knows, you know. But I would say that just the nature, from what I see of darker people, is peace. I say like the Japanese seem to be a peaceful people until somebody else came over dictating and trying to rule them. The Hawaiians, they'd be on the beach doing their little dance. The Indian was building his whatever teepee or whatever you call it. The African was somewhere doing his little dance. These people have never tried to go to other planets or enslave other people or take over countries.
Actually, that isn't true. If you took, for example, let me just, I don't want to get in an argument with you, but Tahiti, for example, is always used as an example of the paradise that the white man came and destroyed. But if you look into the history of when, I'm an expert because I just read a book about it, Captain Cook, but that supposedly peaceful paradise where people did nothing but pluck breadfruit off the trees and make love and had no disease until the white man got there, actually had a number of unpleasant aspects to it, like the fact that they strangled infants at birth to keep the population down, that there were live human sacrifices. So I know that there have been outrageous injustices against the black people in this country, but it doesn't really get us very far to talk about something as if the white man were some sort of intrinsic devil that no other race is.
You are right. What you said was the truth. The thing that you all have done to us is worse than the devil you told us about under the ground.
How would you like it if I were to lead into a commercial now?
Whatever you want to say, but when you say
After
devil,
this message
you're right.
from our local stations, we'll return.